Hello and welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons. I'm Fergus and I'm your host. Tonight I am joined by Lee Judges, Dan Potts, Scunny Mike, and all the way from Cos, I'm joined by Trev, Old Man Trev as we call him. Guys, how are we doing? It's pretty bloody miserable out there at the minute, isn't it? Who's going first?
Nobody.
Nobody wants to.
Everyone's down.
Gone.
That almost sums up the atmosphere at the minute. That, like, nobody wants to say anything because nobody wants to really, nobody wants to offend anybody. I think everyone is at the lowest ebb. We've had bits and pieces. You can go back to the Wenger era and stuff like that, and it was a bit toxic and stuff around the ground, as we all know. We had in and out and all that sort of stuff, but this is just flat as hell. Lee, I know I've been messaging you a couple of times about a couple of bits and pieces, and you said on Arsenal Fans TV that you're not going to Norwich at the weekend unless things change. But don't go into that in too much detail. But let's look at the Southampton game. What did you make of the Southampton game and the atmosphere at the Southampton game? Forget about the football, Lee, just the atmosphere first and foremost.
Well, I've got to say, it was probably one of the worst I've seen, really. It was like people were going because it was like they have to, like a chore. I don't know, if I think people probably went on Saturday because they'd already paid for their ticket or whatever. That's how it seemed to me. If they could have not gone and maybe got their money back, they probably would have done that. I don't know. It's just, I don't know about everybody else, but it's just knocked the stuffing out of me, what's been going on. Like, I just got no enthusiasm to go no more. I don't even know, I was sort of planning on going tomorrow now, but like everybody around me's pulling out of it and not going. And I'm just thinking, shall I go or not now? But it wouldn't have been even a
please go. I'll be on my own.
yeah. But like, I was just thinking, that thought of not going was never going to enter my head. You know what I mean? But like, I'm not. I just felt that, after the game against Southampton, I was so annoyed. But you thought to yourself, well, the club and the board are going to do the right thing now. And here we are now on a Wednesday. They've still not done it, and I just can't get my head around it. I really can't. It is becoming to the fact now that I've got nothing against Unai Emery, but I'm starting to dislike him as well now because I just want him gone. I just want our. And what makes it? I'm going to say it, whether I should say it or not. It's always had the little bit of consolation that we've been playing bad, is because them down the road have been worse. But you just know now that they're going to get better than us.
So moving on. We're not going to let you say that.
But it's true, because they've done what we should have done, and that's as simple as that. Look at them. They couldn't buy a win 2 games ago. Now they've got 2 wins on the spin. The proof's there, isn't it?
Mm. It is pretty depressing looking at them, and I don't want to look at them at all. I'm going to look very introspectively at ourselves. I met up with yourself, Dan, at the Southampton game, and I met with Jason and Mark and Martin and a few of the other guys. And the first half, well, you know what? I think what dragged people down was the thought of a 3:00 Saturday kickoff. They're very much a traditional sort of thing, and it's nice to do a 3:00 kickoff. And we met at the Pins. We had a couple of drinks. I had met with Joanne from the We Care, which we'll touch on in a few minutes. But the first half was pretty flat. I went out for a beer at half time, and I was standing with Jason and Martin. They had full pints out of half a beer. It came back up on the telly again, and we had no enthusiasm to go back in and watch the game. I did go back and watch the second half. I don't think Jason and Martin even bothered. I think they just went and got another beer and just watched it on the telly. It was just flat. But it wasn't just the fans that were flat. The players looked flat and had no direction whatsoever. Dan, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I think you're right there, mate. I don't think these players are playing for this manager anymore. I mean, I brought this up on Sunday and said that one of the things that we saw, you must have saw it as well, Fergus, because you sit right by me, was when Lacazette was being sort of shouted at and shouting at Unai Emery for the throw on. I think Tierney was taking the throw on, and he was trying to go down the line to Lacazette, which was actually the right thing to do, in my opinion, and everyone else's opinion. But Guendouzi was in the middle, and that was where Emery was trying to get him to throw it to. And you could see Lacazette just screaming, and just saying, don't listen to him, just come down the line, don't listen to him. And that's when that's when it's done, personally. The players aren't playing for him anymore. They don't want to be playing for this manager. I wouldn't say they don't want to be playing for Arsenal, but I don't think they want to be playing under Unai Emery. But the fans as well, I started hearing the chanting of "We want Emery out, we want Emery out." We all knew it was going to come. It wasn't something I was singing, but it was going to come. We knew it was going to happen at some point, and this has got worse for me now than the Wenger out. And I think it's, Lee said it to me before, and we've spoke before about it. No one's got any loyalty to this man, and I personally disagree with Lee. I don't dislike Unai Emery. I dislike our board because they haven't got rid of him yet. And I think that, tomorrow night, as far as we're aware, he's taking charge of us. And the fans it's going to be a strange atmosphere tomorrow. It really is, because, there's not going to be anyone there. And it was quite bad on the game on Saturday. So what's it going to be like on Thursday? One thing I will say is, I think on Saturday's game, we just don't seem to be learning from the same mistakes we're making. And the typical example of that is Socrates at the back. Now, if you're trying to play it out from the back, I don't mind, but you need to have the players to do it. And this lad cannot play out from the back, right? Socrates is not a defender who can play out from the back. Now, David Luiz isn't too bad at times, but for me, the pair of them are an absolute nightmare together. It's a dreadful partnership. Not one of them has ever been dropped, right? If it's never been one of them to be dropped for Holding or Chambers, they have to go free at the back. They can never go for Holding and Chambers. They have to go Holding, Chambers and Luiz, or Socrates, Chambers and Luiz. They can never go with a different pair. But they're not learning from it. And Socrates was just absolutely dreadful, trying to dribble it round 4 or 5 of their strikers, losing the ball. And how they didn't score, I don't know. I mean, it was an easy pass. He's actually chipped it up past him in the end. But they could have been 4 or 5 up. It could have easily been 4 or 5 goals, Southampton.
It should have easily been 4 or 5 goals up. We had a couple of opportunities here and there. I think Trevor's trying to sort out his phone. He's out in Greece and he's got some dodgy connection. He'll come back in and join us in a minute. Mike, you watched from TV on the game. Did you watch a live stream or did you just watch Match of the Day?
No, I watched a live stream and I watched Match of the Day, and it's 90 minutes I'll never get back in my life.
It was a poor game.
Terrible.
But the thing too that somebody's brought up here in the chat, Richard brought up in the chat, and I was hoping Trev was around, but not that one, not the back comment. Somebody comments dropping in. I'm trying to manage this, but it was more this one. And Lee, you probably will, as going to the football before, you probably know about this. Richard Butler said he's not felt this disillusioned with the club since the final days of Terry Neal in 1983. Do you remember then?
Yeah, I do. And Richard is right. It's very, very similar, and. People say about, I see someone in the chat there just saying, through thick and thin, and I agree with that. But there comes this is different. This is different now. This is not following your team, is it? This is, that's what Dave said. This is not following and supporting the team, but I can't support the club no more. That's the thing I think that's getting to me. What's getting to me, boys, is that they've been lying to us for so long, and then there's nothing you can do about it. And I feel now I've had enough. I've had enough of the way they keep lying to us, saying it's like, get excited, do this, do that. But the truth of the matter is they're not spending the money on the players. They're not spending the money that we're spending. That club never moved to the Emirates to make themselves a powerhouse. What they moved to the Emirates for was because it was a cash cow, and that's simply what it is. You know what I mean? Like no more or no less. So I'm starting to become bitter twisted about going to the Arsenal games. I just really am. And it's got nothing to do with the team. You know, the players, you know, they're not giving it their all at the moment. But look, clearly, you know, when Terry Neal left the Arsenal, and this is what annoys me about people going, oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. I remember when we lost to Walsall 2-1, there was about 13,000 fans there. And there was more fans outside the dressing room saying we want Terry Neal out than that actually went into the game. And that was the thing. There was all you used to go round and right in front of the ballroom and shout out, you want Terry Neal out like now. I was only young when that was going on, but I observed it.
What, mid-40s?
Yes, thank you very much. I mean, a bad enough mood it is, Fergus. You know what I mean? So, and like that's what fans did. But now there's so many different ways. It seems like it's all filtered now. You know, we can't do this. Oh, you can't do that. Worried about certain things and worried about what people are going to say. You say something on the Twitter and people jump down your throat. You know, it's really, really depressing being an Arsenal fan at the moment. It really, really is. And it's just excuse after excuse after excuse. I'm sorry, boys. After what I see at Wolves a couple of weeks ago, then I'll come to the Southampton game and I see it even worse. No improvement over 3 weeks or whatever. In between that sandwich was the Leicester game. I haven't won for over a month. And the board must be seeing what I'm seeing, because if they're not, I don't know. And for the life of me, I can't believe he's still there, boys. I just can't believe.
I can't believe it either.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Trev, while we got a connection with you, Terry Neal, do you remember the dying days of Terry Neal?
I do, mate. I do very much. I'm sorry, boys. My connection is awful, so I'm really struggling. But I do remember the dying days of Terry Neal. I think Terry Neal was at the club about 7 years, and at the end, there were people just like Lee says, that we were in the streets down Avenel Road, stood outside the Marble Horse, and people were shouting for him to go. But in them days, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have social media, full stop. So that was where it ended. It didn't grow the legs outside of the visiting. You know, it didn't grow the legs outside of the people that were actually at the ground. You know, so it is a different world we live in, and the pressure's massive nowadays. The people complaining and the people not happy within half an hour, it's spread across the world, you know, because we've got this magical stuff that we're doing now. So it is a different situation now. I actually have some sympathy for Emery this week, because I think it now falls firmly on the doorstep of Arsenal Football Club to either say, right, Emery, we're done. You're not good enough. We're done, on your way. Or come out and say, and upset us all, and come out and say, well, we're sticking with him for this, for that, for this, for that. It's a situation now where Arsenal Football Club can help Emery out. They can help him out and set him in stone. Either get rid or say we're going to keep him and upset the fans and see where they go from there. But Arsenal Football Club need to say something, I think. I think we're at that stage.
Trev, you used that phrase, Emery out. That was sang in the North Bank at the end of the game. Did you guys on TV hear it? Dan and Lee, you definitely heard it. I put it up on Guns and Yellow Ribbons on the Facebook page because I was there, and in actual fact, I actually was singing the song, and I don't like, and I'm proud to admit it to a certain degree, and also ashamed to admit it, if you understand what I mean, because it's quite sad that you would come along and start singing at an Arsenal head coach, manager, whatever you want to call him, to say, like, you know, get out. But I think the problems are more beyond him. I don't just think that he's not good enough for Arsenal. He's not good enough for the Premier League, and his language issues are the main issues. But guys on TV, did you hear it? Could you hear it? You could hear boos, I suppose, or you couldn't hear very much else. Mike?
No, I didn't hear the boos at half time. It was the commentator on the stream that I was watching that mentioned about the boos, and obviously I was asking. I think I asked you and Potsy, saying, "Oh, was the booing at half time?" And because I just didn't hear it. And then at the end of the game, you could hear the boos, but you couldn't hear Emery out chants or anything like
that. Trev,
yeah,
you didn't.
I'm with Mike there. We are at the end of the game. You could hear the fans booing, and to be honest, it wasn't the best of games to watch, was it? So you get that. But I didn't hear any of that Emery out. I'm quite pleased I didn't actually. But
Potsy,
um,
go on. Sorry, finish off it. I was just going to say, Potsy.
no,
There's a slight lag. Go on. Hello, cause
yeah, you know
this
me.
is
I
London.
don't get personal, Fergus. So I'm not going to say any more than that. But it was. You did hear the boos at the end of the game on the television. Sorry, my connection is awful, and
No,
I apologise for that, mate.
It's fine. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I know Greek austerity is worse than British austerity. So, Potsy, what did you make of it? You obviously heard the chants and so on. What did you make of the chants? And did you agree with the chants? Do you think it was? Do you think there was a large proportion of people? And Lee, jump in when you want with Potsy on this as well. What did you both think? I'll leave it. Oh, the floor's open.
Well, I did hear it. It was round us, and as you know, Ferg, I wasn't aware of who it was who was singing it. I certainly weren't. But I believe that fans should be given the chance to express their opinions, and I've always said that I've never had anything against fans booing. I've never had anything against fans jeering, whatever you want to call it. I've not done it, and I've not been a part of that. But I feel that if you believe that you want to have your opinion heard or expressed, and that's the way you want to do it, then that's fine by me. I heard quite a few chants, if I'm honest, about Emery out. That's the only game that I've heard it. But the board are to blame for this. You know, the board have made this happen. They've let it happen. They've allowed the fans to chant because we've given them enough chances now. You know, this isn't a bad performance. This is a run of bad games, which is relegation form. So the board needs to look at that and act, and they haven't. So the fans are now going to have to say, well, if they're not going to listen to us by moaning, then we're going to have to start booing and jeering. And I don't want to see that, mate. You know, the atmosphere is absolute dire. I'm not looking forward to tomorrow. And I really hope that by the week.
As well, so.
Well, it's going to be horrible tomorrow as well, but we'll come into that in a bit. But I can't sit there and defend these people anymore. I tried to defend Unai Emery, and I give people chances. I wanted to give him, you know, and the people know that I backed him, and Lee knows that especially. I backed him right up until Watford away, where we threw the lead away, and that was me asking questions. And then after that, performance after performance become a real struggle. And our last win was Bournemouth at home, and that was only just a 1-0 win where Callum Wilson could have quite easily equalised at the end. And it's the performances, boys. It's not so much the results at the moment for me. You know, it's the bad performances week in, week out. The amount of shots on our goal. 71 shots in the last 3 games. 21 of those were from Southampton, who are relegation, strugglers at the moment. This is not a good performance. And if you'd said to me that it's been 51 days since Arsenal have last won a game, you'd actually think that it was a Newcastle, Watford, or Brighton. It really wouldn't be an Arsenal football club, in my opinion.
Lee, could you hear it with all the carpet and stuff around in the posh seats?
Yeah, I could hear it, and you know, so that means that the people in, you know, like the director's box could hear it as well. I thought it was muted, if I'll be honest. But you know, if you are unhappy with things, what else can you do? You know, once the game's finished, I think you're entitled to boo if you want to boo. You know, after watching that, what I'm watching is so disjointed. I'm seeing other teams, you know, like Southampton, one from bottom, come along and totally dominate us. And I don't see us being coached and all that. So what are we supposed, as a fan, what are you supposed to do at the end of the game? Go, bravo, well done, chaps. No, you're going to give it the finger or whatever. And I
don't like the booing. I don't like the booing. I don't like the Emery out, like we want Emery out. But we've got to be able to vocalise or express something, because they ain't listening any other way, are they? So the only opportunity we get, we talked about Twitter. Lee, you've got a large following, obviously, from some of the stuff you do. Dan, you're getting a big following. Even Scunny's getting a big following now. Hilsey Gooner Girl is following you now, isn't she?
Three people.
Okay. But
no. Like I say, when you were saying about Gooner Girl, yeah, I'm going to give them a shout out to the Highbury Squad girls. I was having a bit of a chinwag with them after their podcast on Twitter, and I think the funniest thing that come out of that was Gooner Girls. What did she do with Kevin Campbell? She had a disagreement, so she put a poll out there, and I think she lost. And I think it was me that started that poll.
But no, it is.
See, Fergus. Fergus, right? I just want to ask, because Lee's a bit older than me. I know that, when he looks.
Yeah, you keep on worrying.
I
You.
can't
Qualify
remember.
that. Do you remember?
Wow.
Do you remember Herbert Chapman as the manager? Trev.
Oh yeah, I was there when he was recruited, mate. Yeah. But I can't remember at any stage. It must have happened, or maybe it has. I can't remember in my memory us being at this stage of the season and having a minus goal difference.
No,
It must
I
have
can't.
happened, but if it has, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time that's happened, Trev. I'm with you on that. I can't remember. That tells you so much, doesn't it? It just tells you so much.
Yeah, it does,
that
It's not only that; it's the fact that our strike force must cost 200 million in total, or something stupid like that. Our front four with Ozil, Pepe, Lacazette, and Aubameyang, who were all playing at one stage against Southampton, and we couldn't really get a shot on goal. And I just think -1. How depressing is that when you've got all of that talent up front? What does that say about the rest of the team and the way it's playing under this manager at the moment? It's just diabolical, isn't it?
So,
what?
First, one thing I want to say is I honestly think, right, that people will say, I don't want to sing Emery out and all that. But I think if the fans started singing Kroenke out, everybody would be fine with that. I don't think they would find that as bad as singing Emery. I don't know. I'd like to ask people that. I think it'd be more vocal, and I don't think people would be a little bit more. I think to be honest, I think people are reluctant to sing Emery out. That's what I think. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm
So split, though. The fan base is so split. During the Wenger in, Wenger out thing, it was you was either 50% one side or like one, two sides to it. Sorry, so it was like you was either Wenger in or you was Wenger out. It just seems to be you're either Emery in, Emery out, Emery wherever, Kroenke out, the boards are useless, and and everything else. It's so split and just so random at the minute. There's no real sense of focus on a certain thing at a time. Everyone's just going for different people and just aiming for one thing, and then someone else is aiming for another. So I think if we're more sort of aimed at the one thing, and then everyone started aiming, right, we'll get this one done first, then we can move on to this one, then we can move on to that one. I think it'll make things a lot easier and a lot less toxic.
Mike, that is, I think, what some people are doing, and Emery is the easiest target. But the weak hair
is the first one. He's the first one. He's the first.
He's the first notch on the bedpost that you can get, because it's going to be harder to get to Kroenke. It's going to be harder to get to the people who own the club, because somebody's got to come in with 3, 4, 5 billion. Man City have just sold 10% of their club. Man City, for Christ's sake, for 398 million pounds, which means they're valued at near on 4 billion pounds. So what does it put?
I'll just go out and do it.
What does that put as the value of Arsenal Football Club? And that's brings us on to the We Care movement. The We Care movement, purposely, I met with Joanne. I met with Joanne and talked to, you've talked to Lee Potsy on the Same Old Arsenal podcast about their statement. And their statement was purposely, there was no Emery out in there, because Emery, yes, is the today issue with the club. But the overall issue with the club is the ownership, the stewardship of the club. We all hark back to David Dean. We all hark back to all those days. But the Kroenkes, in the main, don't seem to give a monkeys. God, it's really hard on this one. Honestly, it's really, really, really hard not to swear on this one. But the Kroenkes don't seem to give a monkeys whatsoever. And I don't know. What have you made of the We Care things? I know, Mike, you go first with your opinion, and then I'll go round the table.
Me? I'm surprised you're letting me talk.
Well, I'm letting you go.
Christ, are you sure?
Yeah.
Right. First and foremost, my biggest issue with that statement: where's the meat on the bone with it? There's no meat on the bone at all. It just sort of I don't get where they're trying to go with it. I honestly don't. I don't get where they're trying to go.
Remember, we go back that 2 international breaks ago, only about 4 or 5 weeks ago, we were third in the league, and we were going in after the international break to play Sheffield. We all said Sheffield would be difficult. If we got a 1-0, 2-1, it would be really good. It was important that we scored first. We all done, it might have been a slightly different panel, but the panelists that were on here gave a projection of what points we expected. I think it was 10 points. I think the worst we got was 7. We had some chat where Manny put in when we'd be lucky to get 2. And we all scoffed. And we ended up, we're 6 games later and we've got 2 points. None of us expected that. And the We Care.
Oh,
he's gone.
Are you there, Ferg?
Right.
You care that much. Scunny, carry on. Carry on, Scunny.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all open now. Fergus is gone. Let's get to it. Right. No. Like I say, yeah, I agree with that, Fergus, in some respects. I think I was one of saying that we should hope for 7 at best, but I wasn't expecting it. And I think I was one of the people that was actually saying at Sheffield United, I don't think we're going to win this one. I think we're going to hope for a draw at best on that game. And it turns out we lost, even though I was actually there as well. I think, to be fair, this, like I was saying, to go back on that statement, and obviously the We Care Do You, I am very critical of it. And that's because I just don't believe in a lot of the things that they've done or they're doing. And the fact is that they're not doing very much. And that's my issue. I think when it comes down to, like, when I say when they're not doing very much, I feel you need to get, like I say, you need more meat on the bone. Be a bit more vocal. Tell us what you're doing. Tell us where you're going. If you're having a meeting, tell people that you're having a meeting. What you're doing is exactly what Arsenal is doing, and that is telling us absolutely nothing. So how can you get behind something when you don't know what anything's happening? How can you get behind it?
Just to confirm, can you hear me and see me now?
No.
Yeah. No.
No, seriously, can you?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, we can.
I would have answered if I couldn't.
in fairness, Mike. In fairness, Mike. I had that conversation with Joanne, and I came along and said, you disappeared for a while. There's a lot of people that I've talked to who were very behind the We Care, and probably still are to a certain degree, but I've lost a little bit of faith because they disappeared for a little bit. But as I said before, I disappeared, was what could they do when we're third in the league and go, We Care Do You, we're third in the league, we need to do more. They're caught between a rock and a hard place. Plus, as well as that, the politics involved within the group, and some of us on here will understand the politics that are involved in it, is there's some of them more connected groups that just don't want to upset Arsenal. They want to make sure that got their links into Arsenal, their feed into Arsenal, and get some stuff. Dan, take it from there.
I mean, listen, I've had my say on it, and obviously I was on the Chronicles of a Gooner with Harry the other night talking to Lee about it from We Care Do You. I think my point was that I understand how hard it is to unite fans. I totally get it, and I think that is probably one of the hardest things to do. And when it comes to our fan base, it is extremely difficult. And I think of what's going on at the moment, it's so much, not just Unai Emery, it's the board, it's the players, it's the how we've been treated over not just the last year or so, but also, for me, probably since we moved to the Emirates Stadium. And I think it's a great point what Lee makes about why we moved there. We were told, it was sold a dream, and we were told that we were going to be moved to this stadium so we can compete with the very best. And so far, it hasn't worked out for us. We have been kind of ifs and buts and if onlys and what ifs. But for me, really, overall, if you look at the last 12 years, it has been quite disappointing for Arsenal Football Club in terms of where we were from Highbury. So I take that on board as well. It's not just about a bad performance against Southampton. And I think the problem that the fans have got now is they've seen that, and for We Care Do You has now come out. But really, the performances go back years, months, days. So why is it just coming out now? My only concern was, and it seems to me that I'm not alone here from what Scunny and what Lee will be saying in a minute, I can assure you, is that for me, I don't believe that the fans had a clue what was going on. And I think that was the most frustrating thing, is they're saying they did the best thing was to get all of those signatures, which was amazing, by the way, to get that many
120,000.
signatures. There we go. Over 100,000 signatures. That's the hard bit. They've done that. What then it seems now from fans is that they've dumped that and just gone and said, right, we're our own little thing. Let's go and get behind the scenes. They've not really told anyone what's happening. That was my only concern and query about it. I don't care if someone wants to go and do something. I'll be the first one to jump on board and empty the Emirates. I'll be the first one to jump on board and say, we care, let's do something about it. I've never said that. But what I will say is that I believe that if there was more communication, and it's not just we care to you, it's in general life, then things would not get to this stage. And if I understand the we're in third place, we're only a point off of Man City. I get that. But when we lose to Sheffield United and then we draw to Palace and then we draw to Wolves, We Care has not said anything from that, but apparently they've been working behind the scenes. So then all of a sudden people say, where's We Care to you? Then after that Wolves game, we then see the Leicester game and then an international break. And then we draw at Southampton and then it comes out. So it's like 6 weeks too late. And that was why everyone was so frustrated with them. Whereas if they would have come out after Sheffield United and said, look, this run of games, we're all predicting we're going to get 5 points, 7 points, 10 points. If that doesn't happen, we're going to have to start going up to the board now because we're not excited. And Josh Kroenke said we should be. And that's my only downside with it.
I agree 100%. And I know Joanne and the other We Care watch this. Lee, what did you think?
Well, how I see it. Listen, I think that, I think there's a lot of politics in it. And they asked me to do a video, what I'd done, because I felt that I backed what they were saying. I felt that was a good thing to say. The fact of the matter is that every majority, I would say, if you've done a poll, 99% of the fans want Emery out. So if you're representing the fans and you're representing or trying to represent me, then say it. Why have they not said that? And that's my beef with them. So they're not representing me, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with what they've said in that statement. I totally agree. It's not powerful enough. It's what are you going to do? There's nothing to say what they're going to do. Like for me, it's a lot of people have now got maybe a little bit of power. Don't want to upset the people at Arsenal. Don't want to upset the people at Arsenal. That's fine. Thank you very much. But it's all right. The board upsetting us every week. You know what I mean? Like, and tolerating it and taking the Michael out of us every week. So no, I don't agree with it. Look, if they come out and said, look, we've been at the Emirates. So how many years we've been at the Emirates? Is it 12 years?
12, yeah.
12 years, right. So if they turn around and said, right, what we're going to do, if we don't see some sort of change against Man City, after 12 minutes, we want everybody to walk out on the 12th minute till half time. In that game, I'd be right behind something like that, or whatever, or anything like that. But what they're saying is, we don't want to upset the powers to be, and we're not going to put down what every Arsenal fan wants. And what every Arsenal fan wants is change.
Lee, can I just clarify that it's not We Care? There's a couple of members, because it's a collaborative of several groups. Like there's the Supporters Trust, there's some bloggers like Harry's in there, there's Andrew Mangan in there, there's lots of different ones, and I'm not going to name or shame or anybody who has said that they pulled away, but there's some of them have said they pulled away because they didn't want to. In the words I interpreted was they didn't want to offend Arsenal, but the majority of the We Care still had the same motivation and the same thoughts as they had when they first released the statement to them in the summer. Like Joanne, just for 1 second, Joanne has just put on this on here. Let me try and give you some perspective into the We Care to you. It's not going to be a manager out campaign now, and probably not at any time in the future. The issue lays with the board. If the focus is around Emery, we'll be here again with the same stuff in 12 months' time. When we have a new manager, the issues are entrenched. It's a long game. You cannot go charging into the director's box because you have nowhere to go after that. Owners are not easy to remove, and actually, it's easy to point fingers at activists in groups. It's it's difficult, you know.
Yeah, but I'm sorry.
I don't think any of us are saying. I don't think any of us are saying that it's not difficult. I appreciate
but I
what
don't-
Gosford had said was. Go on, Lee. Go on.
But you know, listen. At the end of the day, it is about getting the manager out, because what we're watching week in, week out is not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not been good enough for a very, very long while now. And paying money and all that. Like, what you have to do is get the manager out first and foremost, because that's what every fan wants. And then don't sit on your laurels and accept it. What's going on? Then keep going at the board, keep chipping away. You know, like other clubs doing and all that. That's my beef with it. Like, you know, and to say, oh, we're not going after the manager when every single fan wants that. How can you get behind that? If
you know what I think they look. I'm speaking to them directly. They do want change in management. They definitely
say it then, Fergus. Say it.
They want change. Yeah, but what they're trying not to do, Lee, is to be an Emery out activist campaign. I hear 100% what you're saying. I'm quite passionate because I'm closely. I'm not directly involved, but I'm closely involved, and I've given Guns and Yellow Ribbons and Arsenal Fans Forum endorsement to the We Care thing. So, because I do care passionately about Arsenal Football Club, and I want to see the best for Arsenal Football Club. And I hear what you say, Lee, and I hear what Potsy says, and I do understand when people say, like, you know, listen, I just come along and said I was singing Emery out earlier, you know, and I passionately want him to go, but I think Emery out is fine. We get in who do we get? Got into the future of, like, who do we get? Nuno Santo, Pochettino, Freddie. Who are we going to have? And then what's going to be? Pochettino out in 12 months' time? Is it going to be Nuno Santo out? Do you understand? But what they're trying to do is a bit higher level. But go on.
You know, like, listen, when you get a manager comes in, like, you know, we can all sit here, like, and all want a different manager. That's football. You know what I mean? We're not everybody on this table is going to get what manager they want. You know what I mean? But you have to say, well, understand the reasons why. You know, I didn't really want Emery. I wanted Allegri first and foremost, but I backed Emery now. But I can tell you that now he is not the answer for the club. You know
he's not.
Like, and so why are the club not doing something about it? You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, the fans are not happy, but, you know, this is like, you know, listen, look what Spurs have gone and done. They've gone and done what every Arsenal fan wants. You know, they haven't have to put up petitions and groups and things like that, because the board are doing what they're doing. And I accept what the campaign's about. That's why I agreed with it in the first place, to go on it. But what I'm saying is, first and foremost, you've got to do, if you're representing the fans, you've got to do what the fans want. That's all I'm saying. And the fans want him out. So, you know, if you're not going to back what the fans want, what's the point of it? That's my argument.
No, I get that.
Right, listen. Can I have a word?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, lovely. First, see, going back to where we were about 20 minutes ago, I don't know how you boys are still conscious, because you ain't taken any oxygen in for the last 10 minutes. But see, the thing is, with moving from Highbury to the Emirates, right? Dan mentioned it was for success, right? We moved to the Emirates to compete, yeah? Well, you missed a very important word out there, which was the start of all the problems. We moved to the Emirates, we were told to continue to compete, because we were already competitive. We've never been that competitive since we left Highbury. Yeah, that was what we were told as fans. We're going to move to the Emirates to continue to be competitive, to take more money. And we were also told that the tickets will be cheaper than ever, blah, 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 blah. It's all gone by the by, yeah? The next thing is the owners, the Cronkies, right? Who put the Cronkies in there? The Cronkies would never have got in if we hadn't have been let down by the previous people that sold them their shares and let them in, you know? So you've got to look there as well, right? And then you're talking about this We Care to You, right? Now, for me, the jury's out on it. I speak to one or two of the people that are on it. I don't know them personally, never met them. They put one statement out this week. It was a very soft statement. It didn't make too many heavy points. So what I'm looking for now, I'm waiting for what's coming next. I'm like chafing at the bit now, thinking, what's their next step now? They put this statement out. I've not heard anything back from the club. So I'm thinking any day now, this week ahead of you campaign, they're going to pick it up a step or two. So let's see what they're going to do. And the last thing, I just want to put the cat amongst the pigeons, right? Because for me, the alarm bells were ringing for me about, I'm not going to name any names, but the alarm bells were ringing for me about our great club when we lost, or we didn't qualify for the Champions League last year when we should have done. Last 6 games, we were awful. So we made a few changes in the summer. Bold got moved to the under-23s and we bought some lads and we all thought, oh, hang on a minute, this ain't looking too bad. And we promoted Ljungberg to the coach's role, to Emery's assistant, and we were all over the moon about that. But it ain't worked out, has it? We ain't playing. So I'll just chuck one back out there of all that, right? Where does Ljungberg stand in this? Should he still have our full faith, or should we now start worrying about Ljungberg as well? I don't know. Tell me, give me some answers.
Personally, I thought Ljungberg done really well with the youth squad, and I can't wait. If Ljungberg is in charge tomorrow night and at Norwich, I'll be singing his name. And I think there's been statements from Maitland-Niles, there's been statements from Willock, there's been statements from some of the young players where they've come along and said that they were really glad that Ljungberg has got involved with the first team because they understand his instructions, where they don't understand the instructions from Unai Emery. Because any of you, stick your hand up if you understand a word he says sometimes. And so, I hear lots of words, and I hear a lot of English words, but they don't make any sense whatsoever when he does a match, a pre-match or post-match interview. And I think Freddie, as an assistant, is going to struggle. But I'd be happy for him to take over in the interim for a few games. Anybody else?
I don't think that's going to happen now, though, Ferg, because I look at it now and think if Emery takes charge, which we suspect tomorrow, and he's saying in his press conference that my future is today and tomorrow, that to me says it all. He's going to be gone after that game or Friday morning, in my opinion. And Freddie Ljungberg is not going to be given the interim because otherwise he'd have been gone already and Freddie would be taking us tomorrow night. So I think we're going to get a new manager in and they're talking to that person already. Like Spurs did with Mourinho, they're going to be talking to Poch, Nuno, Arteta, whoever it is. They're going to be talking to them now. And then over the next few days, we're going to see that a new manager is going to be taking us over at the Norwich game, and I truly believe that will be happening. I think Emery said it all in his press conference. He looked like he hadn't slept since Saturday. He looked like he hadn't had a shave. He looked like he was still drunk, hungover from last night. He looked so down and depressed, and for me, I just think he knows his time's up, and that statement said it all for me. My future is today and tomorrow. What does that mean? That means I'm done. I'll be here today, and I'll be there tomorrow, and I'll say goodbye after that, because Kroenke's little Josh has clearly told him that his time is up. And I think that the board have got to take a massive look. People to start talking about Freddie Ljungberg. We're talking about Emery. I said this earlier on today in the group, and Arsenal fans, for me, and I'll say it again, they've taken the mickey out of Roman Abramovich for so many years now. Oh, we don't want him in charge, Rush. He just sacks managers. Yeah, he sacks managers. Look how much they've won in the last 15 years in comparison to everyone, not just Arsenal, Man City, Man United. Absolutely unbelievable what they've won in the last 15 years because the manager of the board are ruthless. And if you're not doing it, they'll say, see you later. Avram Grant, Champions League final. John Terry takes a penalty kick and it hits the post and they go out because of that. That's how close he was from winning the Champions League. He sacks him, gets in Ancelotti, and then they go on and win the double. He does exactly the same with Scolari. He does exactly the same with Di Matteo after winning the Champions League. And then he brings in Conte and Mourinho, and they then win the double, and Conte goes on and wins the league. And people say it's well out of order of sacking all their managers. Yeah, it might be out of order, but the fans don't think it's out of order when their players are lifting up the Champions League trophies, do they? And you look at what we've won since David Dean's left and when we've gone to this new Emirates. We've won 4 FA Cups. 4 FA Cups in the time that they've won probably 16 or 17 trophies. It's madness.
I still wouldn't want Abramovich.
Abramovich.
Yeah, in owning our club.
Why? Why? Tell me why.
It's my moral standards. I've got like moral standards. I can't say stuff on air because you'd be worried about you incriminate yourself, and for like, you know, lots of people say, you know, dodgy Russian money and all that sort of stuff. I don't know.
Could be worse. Could be dodgy American money.
At the end of the day,
yeah.
But Fergus, you see, Fergus, we have got an Abramovich. Kroenke's got the money.
Exactly, but that's right. But Abramovich is prepared to sack his managers, but he's prepared to back them as well. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
that's what I'm saying. That's the point I'm making, Lee. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Trevor goes. I've got to say, let's just go back to what Trevor said there. Trevor makes a fantastic point when he turned around and said, you know, what are the care Do We Care campaign going to do next? Now, because I don't agree with this statement that's been put out this time, it doesn't mean to say that the next one they bring out, I'm not going to agree with and get behind. So it's very important that they keep going down that route. Like they've made their stand now. What are they going to do next? And I think that's a terrific point that Trevor said. It doesn't mean to say they're wrong. They might, in my opinion, it's only my opinion. I think they're wrong on this one, but the next one, it might be the right one statement, as Mike has said as well. Mike might feel that the next statement's got meat on the bone, and we're going to back it. You know what I mean? I think
you're right in the sense that, like, the huge traction. Dan talked about the petition and the 120,000 people who signed the petition, and the traction they got in the summer with Be Excited, and Josh made a statement and so on. And there was a big gap. There can't be such a big gap the next time. They had a huge backing beforehand. They've got a lot of backing now, but less than they had before. You need to build on that and then and just show what they mean by it. But, mate, this is
like I said. I think my issue with that We Care Do You, and I think my main issue with that, and I don't know if she's going to comment or anyone else if you agree with me or not. It was a perfect opportunity to reunite the fans into one goal, and they've failed to do that, and that's the issue. That's one of the main issues for me for that. Like you say, you got over 100,000 signatures. That says there's a lot of fans out there that actually wanted to do something with you. I was one who signed it. You know, I'll hold my hands up. I was, and that's the reason why I've been very critical of it all. But you had this is where I'm saying that you had the perfect opportunity to reunite. To unite the fans. For one goal, for one purpose, rather than it being all split, like I mentioned earlier. And that's where I think they failed. As to what Dan was saying about Unai Emery, so I'm going to come off the We Care Do You now. As to what Dan was saying about Unai Emery, he looks dreadful. Why are they waiting to get rid of him? Just get rid of him. You know what they're waiting for. If this guy is in this sort of state, and the board are just saying, right, or if the board or someone are saying, I don't know, if someone said to him, right, you're going after Thursday, I'd just quit.
Well, I did send you a message.
No, I'm just saying if that's what they've said. But if he looks that dreadful, why don't they just get rid of him now? Put him out of his misery. Ain't it bad enough hanging on a shoot? You know what I mean? Hanging someone by dangling of him.
He's never going to quit, because if he quits, he doesn't get his compensation. It's the most bizarre job you can get. You can be a football manager, be crap at your job, get sacked, and get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 million pounds. And he is not going to step down, because if he steps down, he doesn't get the money.
Well, why are they holding on to him then? Why are they dangling that shoestring at him? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe the politics about waiting who's coming in. From what I've heard through some sources internally, there's issues with Raul. Raul is very much an Emery man. Josh has got involved a lot, and Josh has said, no, we're done.
Josh, this is another issue of mine as well. Sorry, Fergus, I'm going to jump in here. There's another issue of mine that the scum down the road have absolutely embarrassed us by getting rid of their manager. Does anyone here can be honest here? I didn't know. Did anyone know that Poch was going to be sacked?
No.
Did anyone know?
Do you know, Mike,
can
Mike,
see it.
I'll be honest with you. Ian Wright's in the jungle in a minute. When he comes out, right, the first question they ask him, Mourinho's manager of a North London club, what club would he say it'd be? Like, put all your money on it. He's going to say it's going to be Arsenal.
money, yeah.
Of course he is. You know what I mean? Like,
Because obviously Unai was in trouble before
I
then.
just see what Joanne's just put in the comments there, and it's like, I'm not having a go at Jane, by the way. I've just, but I'm very passionate about whatever. So I think, right, don't underestimate us. You know what I mean? If you've got 100,000 people to sign things, people are backing it. If you come out and say, look, we want this and we want that, and it means we're going to walk out and boycott, I think the fans will do it. I certainly will.
Agreed.
I certainly would go on whatever you come out and say that you want to do, I would back. What I'm saying to you is you should have turned around. All I'm saying is you should have said, look, first of all, we want Emery out, but more importantly, if you don't start pulling your finger out, we're going to do this and we're going to do that until you get your act in order, and that will be at the board, But I think that first and foremost, you've got to, and I'm really passionate about it. So sorry, Joe, if I feel like I'm having a go at you, because I'm not. But
fine. I'm glad you brought it up, because I was going to bring it up here. So and it's done well. Joanne, just for the people who listen on audio, has said the problem is Arsenal fans on the whole want change, but don't want to be instrumental in it. Will they turn up to protest? Will they walk out? Will they boycott? Will they put the memberships on the line and hold up banners? My guess is few will. She's said some other stuff which we'll touch on. Let's see, since it's getting into a we care sort of one. They are. I haven't read it. Listen. Move on slightly from there, and if something that Joanne comes up in conversation, we will do. But we've got 2 games coming up. One tomorrow, a very weird game, and then we're away to Norwich. And these are meant to be possibly the last 2 games that Emery's in charge. My understanding is he's sacked already. My understanding is that he manages for this weekend, and then they can move on. I can't confirm that but I don't understand it. Josh has said he wants him gone straight away. Well, it's Josh's train set, so he should be gone. But that aside, we got Frankfurt. We got no away fans. Red members were banned, and Trevor is going to talk about this. Red members were banned for buying tickets and transferring and so on. And we're going to be without Bellerin, Kolasinac, and Ceballos. Trev, talk to us about the red membership thing.
Well, the red members are banned from buying tickets. Yeah, the ticket exchange is not open, but season ticket holders can still transfer their tickets to a red member. Yeah, so. If, like, I often, because I live abroad, as you know, I've got a red member that I know and I know well, and I know they're an Arsenal fan and they're a friend of mine. I transfer my ticket for a lot of games to that red member. Still do that. I've done it already. They're going tomorrow night using my seat in that ground. They'll be sat next to Johnny. Johnny, watch out for him, mate. There are a lot of the evening games. So that's where we are. You can still transfer your season ticket to a red member, but be very careful. Make sure you know who the red member is and you can trust them and they're your friend and they're Arsenal fans. And that's about it, really. Fergus, I've got to go back. I'm sorry. I've just chucked my pen on the floor. Right? You boys that go every week now, I'm so jealous of you, right? I can honestly see me moving back to the UK soon because I miss it so badly. But when, like, obviously I'll go to the European aways because they're closer for me. And when I went to Porto, when I went to Vitoria a couple of weeks ago, when I lost my room key, we won't linger on that. But I looked at Emery on that touchline and I thought to myself then, this ain't the same man. What's gone on here? There was absolutely zero animation. And I said it then, didn't I? It was like a man that knew what was happening. But what I can't work out, if Fergus, you made a statement, you didn't make a statement, you expressed a view that he's already sacked. If he's already sacked, why is he there now? What good is that doing us?
That's my point exactly,
I've gone back a step, Fergus.
I agree.
What good is it doing us? You know?
I agree.
If he's been sacked, why is he still there? So he ain't been sacked because he ain't come out of the club yet. You know, what good's that doing the players? But anyway, going back to the memberships, yeah, you can transfer your season ticket to a Red member on a ticket transfer scheme. Costs you £1, as you know, but be careful who you transfer it to, because
Make sure not the
make sure you
Jamie.
know the person.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's going to be an odd
Make
atmosphere.
sure you know who
Lee,
it is.
Lee, are you going?
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably will go tomorrow. Like just to see how many people turn up. Like that. So
I
it's
reckon
very hard. It's very hard. This is what's. I've got to go back to. You know what I mean? What like Ben's just put in the thing there. Once we get out Emery, everybody's going to show. Not if you've got a big, powerful group that keep banging the drum. You've got to keep banging the drum to, and not leaving it and letting it and letting these cronkies get away with it. I think at the end of the day they put on too much on Arsene Wenger. It's been shown up that Wenger carried a can for a lot of stuff. Ultimately, we'd love to see the change of owner. The reason that I'm not really wanting to go somewhere has nothing to do with the red and white of Arsenal. It's because of those owners. This is the reason why. But yeah, I probably will go. I don't know. I'm going to see how I feel tomorrow. If it's raining, maybe not. But this is the thing, isn't it? This is what it's getting to me. You
sound like Ty Lee when it's raining.
There's Trev there saying there's Trev saying there he wants to come back in cause let's swap houses then, Trev, for a little while. Come on, let's swap over for a little while.
Hey, listen.
This house swap for a while.
It's been cold here. You say that I've got my jumper on. It was about 19 degrees today.
But you still got shorts on.
Freezing. Yeah, I have. Look.
Oh God!
So listen, the Frankfurt game, we're going to have no away fans. We're going to have possibly a late fitness test for Kolasinac and Bellerin. Ceballos is out till mid-December with a hamstring. It's going to be an odd atmosphere. There's no away fans. There's going to be extra security to try and stop them charging the turnstiles, stop them trying to get in as pretending to be Arsenal fans. We can cock this up if we lose against them, and then we got to go away to Liège. We're out of the Europa League. But a point gets us through. I've gone for a 1-1. I think we'll get a point. Anybody else think anything different than a minimum?
2-2, mate. I've gone for 2-2. I don't think we'll win.
At this moment, Fergus, I can't see Arsenal winning another game, so I'll bite your hand off for a draw tomorrow. I'll bite your hand off for it.
Okay, I know. On our
2-2.
You've gone 2-2, and I know Trev was more keen and went for a 2-0. I think, didn't you, Trev?
No. Sorry, Trev.
I say we'll win every game, me, don't I? You know what I mean? My glass is always half full. I don't know why, but it is.
Them glasses are them glasses rose tinted, mate?
and finally. Finally, we look at the Norwich away game. I drunkenly, but I thought it was a few weeks away. I was talking to Dave Hurl, Jonah. He's watching. Hello, Dave. I come along. I bumped into him on Saturday. He said, "Oh, I've got 3 tickets," and I went, "Oh, right, okay, yeah, fine." I said, "I might want one for me and my grandson." And in the end, I said, "Oh, I can let you know in the week." And then I got home and realised it was the following weekend. So I organised it that evening. I'm going with another Jonah, Mark Porter, and myself were going. I was going to take my grandson, but I was just worried about the toxic atmosphere there might be. Norwich aren't great. Again, I'd probably go a draw at best. Anybody else?
Didn't they win
Depends
at the
if Emery's in charge still.
It really does, doesn't it?
Didn't they win
if he's in charge, then.
But if Emery's in charge against Norwich, the best again we can hope for is a draw.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to go, and then I thought, you know what? I ain't driving 3.5 hours for that. So it'll be a 7-hour trip for me. I ain't doing it.
Fair enough. No, that's a long trek, mate. That is a long trek for you, isn't it? I don't blame you there, mate. I really don't. So who do we want then? If it is going to be the case that Emery goes, who are we wanting out realistically? Because the choices at the moment are Poch, Nuno, and Arteta and Allegri. Out of them 4, who do we want?
Poch,
yeah.
Me.
Trev.
None of them. No, I want if you have to push me, to get someone in, someone that I've seen work miracles before, I'd have to have Benitez.
Okay,
He's
Lee.
going to West Ham.
Do you know
Judges.
what? I'm gonna.
I think so.
I don't. It wouldn't be my choice, but I just feel that it's what we need just to stir all the pot up. Like I'm gonna agree with Ferguson. Let's have pots and let's just stir it all up. Why not?
Fair enough. Out of those four,
I ain't playing no more.
For people listening to this on video, he's just put a bin over his head.
You absolute plant pot.
Even.
I'd have
Scunny.
Nuno, by the way, mate.
Scunny, yeah, I was going to say Nuno. See, it's an interesting one with this Nuno business because they're saying he's now. I don't really want Arteta because he's not been proven at that level.
Oh,
he could be
God,
this absolute
started,
masterclass. He could be the next Pep and all this, yeah. But at the moment, he ain't proven that. I'd like to see him in a new management first. In terms of Nuno, I would take him, but I still feel he's had it quite easy at Wolves in terms of what he's had to spend. I think he's been quite lucky in that respect, and he's been able to attract some Portuguese players to get them into the position they are. But I still think he's done well with Wolves. Allegri, I think, would be a good appointment, but I would like a younger coach. So if I did have to pick one out of them four, then I'm going to have to get Trev to put his bin over his head again because I'm with Ferguson Lee, and I think we'd go for Poch out of them four.
Guys,
Shocking,
That's
Trev.
a lot of
Shocking,
Trev.
Trev.
Vieira at the moment. No, would you take anybody? Take
Vieira's
Vieira?
Because he's not done well at Nice, though, has he? He's not done well at Nice. Have you seen him? He looks dreadful for Nice. Nice
He
looks
hasn't won in
dreadful.
9 games.
Oh, 9 defeats or something, or
Well, you
9.
see-
Nah,
No, he hasn't
awful.
won in 9 games. I don't know if that's
I'm
draws.
sort of in.
Dreadful.
I'm sort of in two minds about all this, because we talk about Ljungberg and Vieira and who's the other young lad we just mentioned.
Arteta.
Anyway, I always said no, not at the Arsenal. We're not. I like someone with a bit of experience, like a bit of a bigger name. But then Lampard's gone to Chelsea and sort of shot that argument down in flames, hasn't he? I thought he'd fall on his backside this year at Chelsea. Lampard.
He
But
did
he
well
had-
at Derby, though,
you
mate.
know,
He had it exactly. He had a season at Derby, Trev. That's the difference. Arteta's had nothing, and Vieira's
Yeah,
proven that he
true,
can't
yeah.
really do it in France. Henri proved it was an absolutely horrendous job at Monaco. So as much as our heart's saying let's go with an ex-player, I think really our head needs to say let's get someone who knows what they're doing. And for me, Poch has proven that he is a good coach. I know he hasn't proven he's won anything, but he's proven he's a good coach. Nuno's
Yeah.
proven he's a good coach. And I think if I had to pick one of those four, then it would be them. Arteta would be my last one, just because he hasn't proved himself.
He won't be on my
Nuno,
list.
Poch,
And
He'll be a top 3. He won't even be on my list, Arteta. No.
I'm not even saying his name. You won't even hear me say his name.
Good call,
Won't
Trev.
happen.
Good call. I'm with you.
And
Yeah.
listen. The Pochettino has taken a team further up the league than Nuno Santé has. Nuno Santé, I think it looks like a really good prospect, but I think it might be a huge step forward from where he is at Wolves to try and come to Arsenal. I'm trying to look. Here we go. Mem came along and said Brendan Rodgers.
Oh, come on. That ship's sailed.
Do
Has
you,
it though?
you-
I
Yes.
don't think.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, Lee, it has, mate. I'm sorry, mate. It has. He's doing so
Would he
much better.
come?
He's got
Would
the
he
full
come?
backing of. He's got the full backing at Leicester. He's in a better position than Arsenal at the minute. Money may talk, mate, but why? We had the chance of getting him before we had Emery when he was at Celtic. We could have got him for a lot cheaper, and he would have been in a better position now. And so we could have had him before Emery. So that ship sailed. What's the point? He's got no need to. He could get into the Champions League this season, get some more money for Leicester, and get more money for more players. And he could be challenging. He could be getting Leicester to another Premier win at some point.
I don't think Leicester will win the Premier League again.
Well,
But
no
if
one
you-
thought they'd do it that season, but they did.
No, he can get them into European football, Europa League, definitely, possibly contending for Champions League.
It only,
The way he's
it only
going.
takes one season, mate. I reckon he could do it.
The way he's going, I wouldn't want to say couldn't. And the reason I say that is if Pep and Klopp do decide, let's say, for example, Klopp wins the league, I don't think he's going to stay at Liverpool much longer after that because he's done it. He's done Champions Leagues and leagues. Pep Guardiola needs a Champions League and he's going to be in the same position. Then that leaves Brendan Rodgers with a free rein to say, do you know what? This is a completely new manager for both of those sides now. And I've built this team up over the last 3 or 4 years. They're still young. They're still hungry. I think he'd be a great manager. And I agree with Mike. I don't think he'll come now. I really don't.
Ship sailed.
Final thing, we've ran over again as always because we end up talking so much on here. The very last
short, Fergus.
The last thing is Ashburton Army have put up. They're going to do a collage or a tifo, I think they call it, where they use all the cards and plastic bags to make a picture. And they're talking about a Rocky where Rocky is hugging Tony Adams. Thoughts on it? Do you think the clock end and the family enclosure is the right area? Thoughts?
I'm not against anything that they want to do. That's all I'll say. I don't think people should get on people's backs if they want to try and cause some atmosphere in the ground. And I've said that all along with Ashburton Army. You know, I've seen them come out and sing songs. I've seen them on their posts, and a lot of people have slated them. And it's only a young lad, Jack, isn't he? So he's trying to do something about it. And if that's the way he wants to do it, to try and cause some atmosphere and try and send a message, whatever it be, then I'm all for that.
Okay. The only thing
the
only thing I agree wholeheartedly, and I'm totally behind them. I've made a donation to them for this TIFO thing. The only thing I did call them out on Twitter, and I know Trev mentioned as well. I don't know if you've done it on Twitter, but you did mention it, that they've given no indication of the budget. They've given no indication of the cost. They've given no indication of what happens with the surplus. And what I also heard as well, that people who were down in the family enclosure and then around the clock end, is they were singing songs that we effing hate the North Bank. Lads, if any of you are listening to it, we're together, we're a fan base together. Don't alienate each other anymore.
Agreed.
Yeah,
right.
Well said, Fergus.
Yeah.
Well said.
Lee, Trev, Mike, Dan, thank you very, very much again, as always, for your time, your input, your knowledge, your opinions. You have been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons podcast. It is an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. We don't do this for anything more than fun. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you do, and you're on YouTube, like us, subscribe, ring the bell. If you're on Facebook, like us, subscribe, and just follow us. Tell your mates, you know, we're not here for huge numbers. We're here just enjoy it and having a chat. Join us next week. I don't know what day we'll be doing it next week because there's football Thursday. We'll probably do it Tuesday or Wednesday next week again. But yeah, join us again. I hope you've enjoyed it. And up the arse.
Up the arse.
Out the Gooners.
End broadcast.